I'm 7 seconds from home free, but I know, like I've always known, that what got me here won't get me there.
Hi, everybody. My name is FAYLITA HICKS, and this is the Writer's Tarot. This reading is going to cover November 2nd through November 8th. I am going to be releasing these readings every Wednesday via my Substack, which will be linked below. I will be linking all of the cards that I use throughout my readings, so that way if you are interested in checking them out for yourselves, you absolutely can. This is something that I want to accomplish eventually, is being able to get transcripts for every episode. But for now, we've got closed caption that's attached to this video, so please take advantage of that if you need that. And there's nothing else we need to know to get started on the very first episode of the Writer's Tarot. Let me just go ahead and get into it. What I'm going to do every single reading is I am going to open up with a 1-card reading from the ancestors. I do think it's extremely important for us to connect with them when we get into something like cards. So I've already done my meditations. I've already asked for them to be with us in this very first reading, which is for poets. If I haven't said that already, this is going to be for poets. And we're going to do 1 card from them, and then we're going to go into our general reading. All right. And nice. All right. So the first card that came out was the 3 of Sticks. And I know you can probably barely see that. I'm so far away from the camera and there's like a glare on it, whatever. It's the 3 of Sticks, and this is coming from the Hoodoo deck. On the 3 of Sticks is a tall person with a big afro. They are holding one of their sticks, one of their walking sticks, and looking off into the distance at the top of a mountain. Behind them is this big, beautiful green kind of cape deal. And they've got big, beautiful blue sky above them and a ton of clouds. And the 3 of Sticks, which is also known as the 3 of Wands in the traditional tech, I said in the traditional tech, and I mean traditional deck, is about watching your boats come in, which is a trope. This is a phrase we hear all the time. And I think it's beautiful that the very first reading ever for the Writer's Tarot with poets opens up with the 3 of Sticks. It means that there is a turning that is happening, not just in our personal lives. And when I say our personal lives, I mean our personal creative lives, but also within the industry itself. For poetry, and this is something I've been on, I've told so many people about. I feel like poetry is experiencing a renaissance in terms of just public knowledge and in terms of poetry's importance in the world. I think we're seeing that starting to turn a lot, and to watch and to be a witness of that moment. To be a witness of the time when America remembered poets do the thing, and we do the thing really, really well. And so that's going to be our 1 card from the ancestors, is welcome to the beginning of a major journey. All the things you have asked for and hoped for are now very much possible. Now let's get into our general reading before I start going too far down that one. This next deck is going to be the Modern Tarot deck. It includes a lot of classical images from the original, one of the original tarot decks. It includes a lot of those classic symbols, but it's definitely upgraded them for contemporary use and contemporary reference, which is why I think they're appropriate here. I'm only going to pull 4 cards, but when I pull 4 cards, if I need to clarify, I will clarify. Most of the time there's so much information in it that it's almost difficult to try to do too much clarifications, but let's take a look at here for poets. For poets, please. And you're probably seeing the bottom of the deck every time I pick it up for the camera, but yeah, that's okay. All right, we are going to have to do at least one clarification. So the first card that came out is going to be our Eight of Swords. And this is showing up in the position that I consider to be just the kind of overall energy of the situation. This card can represent an initiatory event in the situation or can represent the ending of a situation. It's just a very, for me, it's a position that I actually don't know the answer till I've taken a look at the other cards to know, like, is this about the beginning or is this about the end of something? The position though is not what's important here right now. It's the Eight of Swords. On this photo, we have a person standing in a puddle. They have 8 swords sticking up out of the ground. They have a rope wrapped around their arms and their chest and their midsection, and their eyes are covered with a white cloth. This did come out in the upright, which means that this is very much about the positive aspect of letting yourself witness what's happening and acknowledge what's happening. When you are sometimes going through life, sometimes it's hard to see all the opportunities because we looked once before, like last month or last week, or, you know, when we were like in our 20s or when we were teenagers, we looked around for opportunities. We could not find them. And this card is saying, hey, take another look. Those opportunities that you didn't think were available before might actually be available now. So I need you to go ahead and take that old narrative and put it to rest. Right? This is something that we talk a lot about in social justice, where we're talking about like these old narratives about what this group of people does and what they look like and how they act. We are not all the same. Things have changed, and I need you to recognize and own up to that. And that's what this card feels like it's saying. It's saying, hey, things have changed. Your opportunities have changed. There are more things available to you, and I need you to go ahead and take advantage of that, which still takes me back to that Three of Sticks, but I'll get to that in a second. This idea is supported by the Fool card. The Fool card is the very first major arcana, and this card is including a person kind of, I was going to say standing at the edge of a cliff, but they're not standing. They're like dancing at the edge of a cliff. And in this take on the cards, they have headphones in, and they're literally just kind of hanging out. There's a dog jumping up and down next to them. You can see the city in the distance and the big old sun. There's a big, beautiful, bright sky all around them, and they're standing in grass and just kind of literally they got 1 foot down, 1 foot up, and they're just like hanging out and dancing on the edge of a cliff, which seems kind of crazy, but that's why the card is called the Fool, because this is about having both the wisdom to not go too far over, but also having the necessary beginner's mindset to want to take a risk, and you don't know what's going to happen, right? And so there's a balance of that, and there's a whole theory in tarot about the Fool being the beginning and the world being the ending, and the world is really just the Fool coming back to the same cliff and jumping off of it again, right? There's this whole big theory behind it, but when I look at this card and when I think about it in the context of what it means for poets right now, especially in the context of that Three of Sticks and this Eight of Swords, it's saying, start over. Allow yourself to be remade, to be reimagined, to be reconfigured. Allow yourself to rename yourself. Let's say you've always considered yourself as only a poet on the stage. I write poems for people sitting in audiences, as opposed to I write poems for people sitting in their homes, or sitting in a group of friends, or sitting in a classroom, right? Those can sometimes be two different audiences. Most of the time they are the same audience, and that's a whole nother conversation. But in this aspect is saying, okay, if you've always only seen yourself as one kind of a writer, I need you to think outside the box now. Maybe you are going to write some fiction. Maybe you are going to find a way to turn nail tech art into poetry. I don't know how you would do that. I have some ideas, but you know, who's to say that you can't be a tattoo artist and a poet? Right. And that's a very big thing that's happening right now, where we're kind of looking at this change in who's allowed to be a poet, who's allowed to have that name, right? Who to that fancy title, right? Which is very canonical. That's another whole conversation. I'm thinking right now of a couple of folks who have been known as something else, but who were also poets. Right now, I'm thinking at the forefront, Patti Smith, right? Just won a wonderful award from the Poetry Foundation, but Patti Smith is known as a rock star who just won a major award for poetry, which is something to think about. Can I be both a rock star, quite literally, and a poet? And this is something I highly encourage. It does seem to say, if you are only seeing yourself in one way, I need you to start looking outside the box and saying, can I be this and this? Can I do more? And what happens when you allow yourself to be more than one thing, it really informs the work. It informs the poems. If you're like, no, I must only focus on the poems, what are you going to write about if you're not living life? If you're not writing about life that you're living, right? If you feel like you're hitting, a block in your writing, maybe it's time for you to get up and go do something else you really like, because maybe that's going to be the thing that triggers the ideas for your poems. We got the Six of Wands. Woo-hoo-hoo. And I'm going to show you how this all like works out here in a second. But so we got the Six of Wands here, and this person is riding on a horse. They've got a wand in their hand. A wreath is hanging on that wand. There are several wands in the background, and that's people on the ground kind of celebrating this person who is walking with, after having achieved a major victory. They're literally walking into the future. Again, we get that person from the Three of Sticks who's holding a wand, and we get that person who's riding on a horse holding their wand. Both of them looking off into the distance, off into the future. And so I think that's really, that's wonderful that came right back up again, because that is very much about being successful, right? And when we say success, that success does need to be self-defined. So I'm not talking about just a publication or winning an award or getting a fellowship or getting into that graduate program. I am talking about the awards and the accomplishments and the successes that we have when we're just sitting at the desk, right? When you write a line that you absolutely know is fire, right? Before anyone else even sees it, it comes out and you're like, I don't even know how I got that. I don't know how that arrived, but it's here now, right? Especially for poets, right? Because we're so specific to the individual line that when we finally do accomplish the line that we've been trying to get out for, years, it's important that we celebrate that, because you start adding those things up, and next thing you know, you've got this incredible poem, and you're like, I really don't know how I got here. I did my best, but I don't know how I got here, and I'm just happy that I got here. And this is very much about celebrating not just the big wins. It is about these individual small wins that take you to your ultimate win, right? And so, really, really love that. This next card, it came out in the reverse. It's the only one that's come out in the reverse so far. And this is the Five of Wands. The Five of Wands is showing 5 people. All of them are kind of dressed in skirts and covering most of their body. We've got a couple of face masks on these folks, and we got 5 wands. They're each holding their wands, and they're fighting, but they're not fighting like I'm trying to take you down. It's more like I need to fight for my space. And talking about space, meaning I not only need to fight for my particular space, but I also want to move forward. And so now I got to fight you to kind of move forward. And it's not because I hate you. It's just because we can't share the same space at the same time. And so we need to kind of shift that space. And when it comes out in the reverse for me in this particular reading, I think that there is a negative, there's this negative approach right now. It feels like I'm definitely hearing submissions and competitions. This idea that one person is taking up too much space, and so everyone needs to be giving up their space, when the actuality is that if you want a space, then you need to be working harder for that space. So it's not that they have to give up the space to you in this particular context, because there is a context in which some folks need to share space, right? Not in this context. In this context, is saying if you see someone constantly doing the thing you want to do, you shouldn't be comparing yourself to them. You should be asking yourself, what else do I need to do to put myself in that space? How do I need to be working harder to put myself in that space? So it's not like, oh my God, that person keeps doing the thing. I need them to stop doing the thing so I can do the thing. No, it's, I need to do my thing, and I need to do my thing more, and I need to do my thing better, and I need to do my thing more effectively? Like, what is it that I need to be growing on? And when I hear submissions, I'm thinking, if you don't feel like you're getting a lot of publications, maybe it's like, okay, I don't like that I'm not getting, every poem that I'm putting out. It's taken me a year and a half to get one poem published. What's wrong? Go back to the drawing board. Do we need to work on craft? Who are we submitting our work to? Do I need to start doing research to figure out who else takes poems? Or have I only been submitting to these 5 publications and I don't know why they won't take any of my work? I really want to get, published, and then why won't they take my work? Maybe it's a matter of going outside that box. And I'm going to just clarify it a little bit more. But what I will say is when I first started publishing poems, I didn't start at the top per se. I did throw a couple of poems in the ring for the New York Times or the New Yorker or whatever. Oh, nice. But I just was like, I just need to start getting my words out. So I'm just going to look for anything that says poetry, and I'm not going to attach any feelings to whether or not I get paid for it. I'm not going to attach any feelings to whether or not they have a big name or if I know anybody on the list. I just want to get my work out there. I just want it to be accessible to others. And that was a strategy that worked out well for me. Right. And so I do encourage you to take a look at that. Nice. So the clarification cards for specifically this 5 of Wands, I wanted to know and confirm that was definitely about submissions. And it is. We got the 4 of Wands here. We've got 2 people holding hands. This is kind of like a marriage card in most decks. In this deck, it doesn't look like that's the particular theme they went with. It's got this wonderful little awning. The 4 wands are planted in the ground. And it's got an awning. It's got a what do you call those? I have long COVID, guys. My brain fog is real. I'm literally looking at several of them in my room. It's got a bunch of flowers hanging across the 4 wands. It's got the city in the background and what appears to be just shrubbery in the front. And the 2 people are holding flowers, and they look like they're waving at the person. They look like they're waving at us, the reader. And telling us to come on through. And it kind of looks like the finish line. It looks like I have arrived and I'm so glad I'm here, right? That's what it looks like. And so this card is about, if not in a love reading, and this is not a love reading, I'm not going to look at it with the eyes of a love reading unless that really stands out to me, and it does not. It looks like it's saying you want to move into the next part of your career. You want to start thriving. You want to make your career the thing that feeds you and keeps a roof over your head. Totally possible. Totally possible. The only way for you to do that is to stop focusing, again, with 5 of Wands, right? Stop focusing on what other people are doing and stop trying to ask them to move, and you start putting in the work to make them move. The next card that came out was the 9 of Wands. And the 9 of Wands came out in reverse. And so that does seem to confirm for me, at least, that whatever you've been working on, whatever that project is actually the project that's going to take you to the next level that you've been seeking, but you refuse to finish it. Kind of like, I don't know, me and the Writer's Tarot, right? I wanted to do this forever, and I haven't done it for over a year and a half because I've just been like, oh, I need to get settled. I need everything to work out and everything to be perfect before I get into it. And the universe is like, that is not at all what I said. What I said was get to work. What I said was show up. What I said was follow through and keep doing it until you get to where you want to be. The 9 of Wands is like you are right there at the end of it and you have everything you need. You just need to keep going. You are almost there. The finish line is right there. You could see it right around the turn of the corner. If you could just get to the freaking corner, get there. Right. And so it looks like it has a lot to offer you, and that's a lot of good. It's a lot of good news. And when I say it looks like it has a lot to offer you, it looks like it's not just one thing that comes from you finishing up this project or putting in the work that you need to put in. It says for me that if you can push through, if you can get it done, then you've got the 7 of Cups, which means that anything you are interested in is now going to be an option to you. right? If anyone plays video games, please don't let it be just me who plays video games. There are levels to this, right? And you get through a level and you acquire a new skill and you're so excited and you're like, bet, woo. And then you like get to the next challenge and you're like, oh no, I don't know what I'm doing. And you got to play it forever to get to the next level, right? And so this says that there's going to be several new options available to you. There are going to be several new layers available to you once you can get through this current one, right? Once you can work past all of those insecurities and fears about who's going to like my work and who's going to publish me, once you can just get into the habit of like, this is work and sometimes there's a good day and sometimes there's not a good day and I'm just going to keep doing it until I get there. Once you can set that into yourself, once you can get that mode going, they're going to say, oh, bet you are willing to put in the work. Here are all these other options of things that are now available to you because you got through that first level. For me, it was definitely like, all right, write the book. Oh my God, I couldn't write the book for 10 years. It took 10 years for me to finally get the book to do the thing. And once the book did the thing, now there are all these other options available. Do I want to teach? I don't know. Do I want to travel? I don't know. But I have the option now, right? And so it's the same kind of thing. Once you can get past one level, and the book is a big level, let's be clear. There were lots of smaller levels first before we got to the book. But what I'm trying to say is that once you make it past this wall that you are currently up against, once you allow yourself to look around you at all of the ships that are trying to come in, all of the opportunities that are trying to come in, once you take off this blindfold that you got on, right? About, oh, woe is me. There's nothing available. Once you let all that go, once you let that mindset go, then you're going to see just how much is available to you. I'm going to do just this real quick. The Queen of Wands. This is the bottom of the deck card. This is yet another confirmation. The Queen of Wands. Wands in particular is about creation. It's about fire. It's about bringing things into being. And very much the Queen of Wands sitting on that throne is like, bet, I know exactly who I am as an artist, as a creator, as a creative. I know who I am. I know my signature. I know my voice, and I know what feels right in my soul. And no one can take that from me, right? This is the ultimate goal, I think, for a lot of creatives. I think especially for poets. There's the traditional forms, and then there are all these really awesome new forms that have been coming into being. But there's a sense of invention that's happening in poetry right now. There's a lot of innovation happening in the field. And this is that mode of, bet, I got another one for you. Y'all ain't even ready for this. Like that kind of tone is what I feel for sure. And I like how we also have both a dog and a cat in here, which tells me you probably have a crew of folks who've been telling you this and you haven't been listening. Your people have been trying to let you know. Yeah, you got a dog, a horse, and a cat in here. Oh, I bet. So in the full card, we have a dog. And the Six of Wands, we have a horse. And in the Queen of Wands, we got a cat. You got somebody who has been advocating on your behalf, who has been encouraging you and getting in your ear, talking about something. I don't know why you waiting. Do the thing I've been telling you to do. So do that. Oh man, I wanted this to be short for you. It is not short. For that, I apologize. Let's go ahead and get one card here for a writing prompt for poets. This deck is actually the David Bowie deck. Yeah, I said it, David Bowie. It's kind of cool. One day I'm going to show you the case. Like I said, I'm going to put links for these decks, but I just want to get this. This is why I can't do this with this deck. This particular deck is not about that life. I try, and he's so long and thin. And yes, I do gender my decks occasionally, but I am a non-binary femme-identified person. And that means that it might be he today, it might be a she tomorrow. It is what it is. It might be a it might be a them. And in this case, it's a them. You see how two cards came out, only one and two. So like whenever I say a gender, my genders are not permanent and they're not binary. So, okay. I'm just asking for a little bit more clarity at what I'm seeing. Right. So in the first card, you've got King of Pentacles. And again, I know this card might be a little difficult to see. I'm just going to hold it like that. There, you got the King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles is currently sitting on top of a horse, a stone horse. And there's a ladder that leads up to the stone horse. There's an anchor beneath the King of Pentacles. There's a rope that is linking the horse to a pentacle on the ground. There's a pentacle coming from the clouds. So it looks like it's raining money, quite literally, in this image. And the King of Pentacles has one foggy eye and one clear eye, very Odin-like. Yeah, very Odin-like. It looks like they've got a, what do you call that? A manacle? What? It's the little thing you put on your eye. When you pick it up, it's a glass, and people used to use it for like a magnifying glass. Like, what did that say? He got one of those. Yeah. When I look at this card, what I'm seeing is that the wealth, and when I say wealth in this context, I do mean the wealth of opportunity, the wealth of time, the actual financial wealth is already available. It's already available to you. But there's this need for you to ask for more, right? And when they say ask for more, it feels like they're saying that they need you to have a higher purpose. That writing shouldn't be just for you, or to placate you and your imagination, or to placate you and your need to express yourself, or to placate you and your unhealed pain. It's asking for a higher purpose. It's asking for you to elevate the mission, whatever that mission is, right? Elevate the mission in terms of who you hope your readers will be, who you hope your readers will serve, who you hope your work will serve in terms of readership, right? It's asking for you to elevate that, because that is where the true wealth is, right? Once you stop making it about you alone, and in the context of all this, what I mean is once you stop making it about, I have to be the name on the cover, and you change that to like, I would like to be on the cover so that I can do this, that, and a third for my community, right? Those are two different things. Yes, you are important and you should be first in your life, and your life is the one that's important, right? Because only you can live that. But also recognize what role you play in your community, and how you can elevate the work that you're doing to serve others better. Remember, there's no successful writer who doesn't have an audience. People have to read it in order for that writer to somehow make a living. People have to buy it for them to put a roof over their house. That writer has to, in some way, communicate with the community. And what do you want to communicate to them? And hopefully that whatever you're trying to communicate to them is something that's bigger than life sucked, right? Because life sucks for a lot of us. I'm saying that really lighthearted, but for a lot of us, life has sucked at some point. So be clear about that when you say that. Like, is it just that you want to communicate that your life has sucked, or do you want to communicate that life sucks? Yes, but there's more to it. And here's a little bit of wisdom I learned in my time, right? And so just elevating the mission behind your work, behind the work that you do. So behind your creative work, behind your the way that you decide to publish, the people you decide to interact with, the comments that you make, the people you read and support, like lift it just a little bit, because that's where you're really going to see your stuff shine. And the second card is going to be 9 of Pentacles, and it shows a person who is surrounded by gold. And I do mean surrounded by gold. They've got a bunny by their toes. They've got some fruit and a ghost. They got a bat. So they got a lot going on in this. Ooh. This is why I was only trying to get one card from this deck. It's David Bowie's deck is on some other stuff. The artist, little known fact about the deck, the artist who created the deck actually did the whole lightning bolt that David Bowie is infamous for having, was the original designer for that. And so the deck is kind of in honor of that. relationship, that creative relationship that they had. And we've got a broken egg here with things growing out of it and glowing. So completely surrounded by pentacles. You see all that gold? Yeah. All of that there. And so the prompt for this is really is for you to take a look around you and consider how other people's dreams manifested to create the space that you're in, right? I want you to take a look at the couch that is sitting next to you or that you are sitting on and ask yourself, whose dream was this? Who dreamed up a couch and designed it and went through every single part of the process to make that couch become a couch and then decided to sell it, right? And then marketed it and put it through all the channels that it took in order for that couch to somehow end up with me. Take a look at the desk that you sit at. I'm sitting at my desk now, but for the most part, I sit in the kitchen at the island in the kitchen, and I have to ask myself, I wonder who is the first person who said, you know what, this is how a kitchen should be shaped. And I'm going to make that shape in this kitchen, and I'm going to design this marble top, and I'm going to figure out what kind of measurements it needs to be so it doesn't topple over. And I'm going to figure out, the exact size this screw hole needs to be. Like, there is someone who had a dream for almost every single element of our life. If you're in a car, if you are walking into any sort of store, if you are eating food from a certain country that you wouldn't otherwise have access to, if you are picking up a piece of art or a book, everything around you is someone else's dream that they followed through on to the point of it manifesting. And it's really important for you when you feel like I don't have enough, for you to take a look around and go, if they can make that, why can't I make a poem? Why can't I write a single line, right? Even if it needs to be that your poem begins like, I can't believe somebody created, I'm trying to think of something random. I don't have anything. I can't believe somebody created dry erase boards. How in the world did that happen? And what was that process like, where it was like, you know what, this is what we need to make this happen, right? All of the things and research that went into that. So that is your writing prompt, is take a look around to see what are all the other dreams that came true and how might yours come true if you just take those steps and follow through. The overarching color so far seems to be yellow. Yellow is popping up in almost every single card. I'm just double checking. Yeah, it pops up in every single card. And what I can say about that is it has a whole lot to do with the solar plexus. The solar plexus is located below our heart chakra and above our sacral chakra. And I'm not going to explain where all those are, but the solar plexus, you can Google solar plexus. And it's in the very quickest and remedial way to say it is, it's the place of confidence and learning how to harness that confidence in order to bring forth whatever it is you need to bring forth. And it does seem that the overwhelming message here is that you need to have more confidence in what you're capable of doing. Don't ask if it's going to succeed. Just, let it succeed. Just let it come forth. All right. Looks like they also want this one. All right. Perfect. All right. And so I'm doing now these 3 cards from the Crow deck. This is about any sort of messages you can expect. And because this is a weekly, this is for the next 7 days. Occasionally it can go to 14 days, but for the next 7 days, these are some things you can expect specifically for poets. You got the Ace of Wands upside down. And while I love me an Ace of Wands, it is in this reverse position telling me, and by the way, on this, I didn't explain what's on the card. We've got a crow standing on top of a wand. The wand is not leaning on anything. It's just a wand standing up in the middle of the beach. There are waves coming in, and there are some lilies off to the side, yellow lilies. And the wand is on a golden beach. And the background is the city, and the crow is taking a look in the same direction that our 3 of Sticks was looking, which one can assume is the east because its back is to the water. And I'll explain all that later. But the Ace of Wands, when it comes out reversed, it tells me that If you had applied for something, you're probably going to get a no. So it's probably going to be a rejection. But don't let that stop you. Remember, we just talked about how, even if there's a closed door, you got to keep going. You got to keep going. You got to keep putting in the work because you're closer than you realize. And that is confirmed by our Two of Coins. This card has a crow standing on top of an infinity symbol. Inside each circle of the infinity symbol is a pentacle, and flying overhead are two additional crows. The two additional crows are flying in the opposite direction from our primary crow. But the primary crow seems to be having a lot of time because they are learning how to master balance. They are learning how to really cultivate their resources and cultivate their practice and cultivate their craft. And so while everyone else seems to be outside having fun, you might be inside going to work, and your work may not have an immediate value to others, right? Because your work is not published yet, or your work is today's work was just literally reading and researching, and all you worked on was a single line, but you made that the best line possible. That is exactly what you're supposed to be doing right now. And so it looks like that message that you're receiving is, hey, even if it looks like everyone else is doing everything super fast and just putting out all this content or putting out all these publications and they're just going, remember that taking your time and cultivating your practice and learning the balance and learning what it means to you to be a writer, learning that I spent 3 hours working on poems instead of partying tonight. I didn't go out with my friends, but also this is something that's really important to me, and it's something that has value, and it has value right now and in this moment because it has enriched my life. I used my time to create something I wanted to create, and I'm very happy about that. And so it feels like that's going to be important for you this week, because it might feel like everybody's just kind of getting all these things, and where are your things? Right? You're really concerned about your rejections, but it looks like they're saying, just keep going to work. It will work out, right? It will work out. The infinity symbol is about the infinite possibility of things working out. And this is confirmed in this reading right here with the Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords is about release. And that release is not by anyone else's hands. It's by our own hands, right? No one saved the princess in this story. I saved my damn self is what it's saying. We've got a crow who is sitting on a throne. That crow is very definitive. They've got one wing up. There's a crown on their head. There is an additional crow flying in the background in the direction that the queen crow is pointing in. And there's a sword standing up straight on one of the arms of the throne. And it's just very commanding and clear in the image. And the throne is white. This is very much about you setting yourself free from the expectations and standards of others by following through on your own endeavors, following through on your own imagination, following through on your own insight and your own creativity, and taking that risk. When you allow yourself to take those risks, when you allow yourself to dig in and keep working, even when it doesn't seem to be making sense or providing very quick results for you, when you decide to keep doing that work, magic happens. You set yourself free. And when you set yourself free, there's no more chaos that's happening. Because even in these crow cards in particular, there seems to be a lot happening, right? We got waves and the Ace of Wands. We got all kinds of gold all over the ground and the city in the background. And in the Two of Pentacles, we've got the pentacles inside of the infinity symbol, and the birds are flying, and there's wind, and there's a whole bunch of stuff on the ground. Like in both of these cards, there's a lot of chaos. We're seeing all of these other things that are happening, but learning how to focus on the work that we're doing and pushing that is what gets us to this place of calm and serenity and balance. And we're just bet, I know exactly what I'm doing. And now I'm the master of my narrative. I'm considering my use of the word master. That's what's happening internally right now. Now, this is a literary tarot deck. We've only got a few more cards we're going to pull, and then I'm going to let you guys go. But this is the literary tarot, and I haven't really worked with this oracle deck. This is an oracle deck that I picked up in Portland, Oregon during the Tin House summer workshops, which is pretty cool. I'm just going to get these cards put to the side here so I can see my oracles. I got it at this great shop. I am going to try to name that shop in the notes down below. But so I actually don't know what's all in here. I've only used it once. I picked it up in Portland, and then I moved, and 8 million other things happened. And so this is the Writer's Tarot. So I wanted you to have a chance to hear from the literary witch's oracle. All right. And what I'm going to do is these are going to be intuitive readings because I haven't looked at the book and I don't know what it's going to say. All right. So I already don't know how I feel about this. Real-time reactions. First card I get is a glove. It is a white glove on a kind of, what kind of background is this? It's just a plain background. It's a white glove on a plain background. It just says glove. Gloves are tools. This was about not just propriety, but it was demure. It was trying to hide something that might otherwise be tempting. And the words that I'm getting right now is like a sin to see skin. Who thought it was a sin to see skin? And who said that it wasn't okay to reveal anything intimate or anything personal? I am thinking specifically right now of Sharon Olds. I'm thinking of Sharon Olds in particular, how the work does a lot of revealing the day-to-day kind of in our body feelings that feel so uncomfortable. And we're like, we are never, ever going to talk about this in public, right? And this feels like, but you need to, right? You need to get more honest about what it means to be human. And not just the big philosophical ideas or even the more esoteric, but like, no, what does it mean to be in your body in particular? What does it mean to be moving throughout space and time? I've been watching too many space videos. They call it space time now. What does it mean to be moving through space time in your body? And why are you not documenting that via the work? Why do you shy away from it in your work? Why are you so afraid to take off, the facade of, respectability in order to get to the real meat, the real true parts of what it means to be human? Because that's what people are needing right now. That's what people are asking for, is intimacy. That is what we are missing after, the pandemic. We are looking for intimacy. We are looking for realness. Which kind of brings me to this next card. I was going to get into a whole Twitter thing, and then I told myself to pull back on Twitter. Don't go into Twitter, but I'm going to go into Twitter now. There is we are actively looking for opportunities. We are actively looking for community and actively looking for something that is real and true and honest. And Twitter, I would say for like 5 seconds, Twitter was a place that felt like this is where the real conversations are happening. Now, there have been lots of little glimmers of that happening, pretty much its entire span of time. But at one point, it was the place. If you wanted to get the real truth straight from the mouth of the person or the expert or the organization, if you wanted to get the real thing, you went to Twitter, because Facebook had already crashed by that time. Tumblr was doing whatever it was doing. Instagram was all about likes and stuff, right? And so Twitter was the place where the real conversation was happening. And now we're in a position where Musk, that's all I'm going to say about that. Now we're in a position where that may not be the case, and people are asking where next. And the next card that came up was the lantern. And the lantern is, when I think about it, both in terms of the literary world, but also as a symbol in tarot and as a symbol throughout the world. This lighting process, this process of gathering the parts that is needed and creating the flame oneself. So not depending on the actual item to create the flame, but like having to go and get the flame and bring the flame to the thing and make it light and then carry that light, which, you know, depending on what kind of lamp you had, it could get messy or it could be very troublesome. It could start fires very easily, right? All of these concerns that come with having a lantern. What it feels like for me is that it's saying we are all in search of intimacy and we are all in search of a place to call home and of a community that is going to love and respect us and lift us up and encourage us and see us as we are, no matter who we are, no matter, you know, anything about our identities. And that search is something that is very real, but at the root of it is that the real thing you need to be doing probably right now, if you can't find community outside of you, is learning how to love yourself. I know you probably expected it. It's tarot. I know I was going to say it, but really, it's very possible that the light needs to come from within you, that you need to sit down and master the self. And I can say this with some confidence because I spent the entire, you know, shutdown, the whole lockdown, I spent it by myself. I had a roommate, but that roommate had a girlfriend. And so I didn't have a partner. I didn't have, you know, my friends were all very far away. And so I spent it by myself. And when everything was like, okay, you can go outside now, I was like, man, I'm going to go outside and be with people because I've mastered learning how to be alone. I've mastered learning how to be by myself, but that was not the exact truth, was it? No, the exact truth was that, no, I had mastered learning how to kind of deal with trauma on my own, but I hadn't mastered learning how to enjoy myself or my time or my quiet. I hadn't mastered learning how to laugh alone or how to really figure out what are the things I like to do on the day in, day out basis when there's nothing else in the way. And so I've been going through that process, and it really feels like this is the process that they're asking us to consider. Is like, maybe you don't need another workshop. Maybe you don't need another writing class. Maybe in order to get the project done, you just need to focus on taking care of you and really looking yourself in the mirror and being truthful with yourself about that thing that you're so scared to say on the paper that it's like blocking up everything else you could write. There's something that you are blocking within yourself, and they need you to go ahead and turn on the lights inside, right? Go ahead and bring the fire to you. You don't need anybody else to bring it to you. You need to bring it to yourself. Gertrude Stein is our literary witch. It's showing here, and it says perspective on it. And I really wish I could tell you more about Gertrude Stein. I don't know. So I'm going to read the little caption here and explain the photo. Right. Well, this is not in order, but yes, it is. Perfect. I love it when things are in alphabetical order so I can find them. I am still lost. How did that happen? Oh, because I'm looking for the first name and it's in the last name. That's why. Gertrude Stein, perspective. Making sense, frames, new ways of seeing. It says Gertrude Stein, 1874 to 1946, hosted a popular Paris salon, home to a staggering collection of modern art and famous visitors, Picasso, Hemingway, F. Scott Fitzgerald, and so on. Influenced by the radical painter she supported, Stein set out to create cubism in writing. She stripped her poems of narrative and logic, playing instead with spatial relationships and process. She shared her life with her romantic partner and secretary, Alice B. Toklas. Right. So I feel like that's everything we just I feel like that's everything we just said about one, not competing, spending some time to really explore oneself, and allowing that to be one's entryway into the community, elevating that work to be something different, innovating it in a way that is personal and unique to oneself. In this image, Gertrude Stein is sitting with a poem in one hand and a rose in the other. On the floor next to them is a cage with one feather inside. and there's a spider hanging from a spider web above them. There is a painting, and the painting has a person looking out at Gertrude Stein, and there are arms sticking out of that painting like a ghost. That is the image here of this card. And I think it is very much about changing our perspective. Who are you looking at for your success when really it needs to be you? Because you create small successes when you sit down and do the work. Stop looking outward. Stop expecting what everyone else is getting and just start working, which is kind of a hill that I'm always on. We're going to look at one thing to release over this week. And yes, this is turning into an hour long. Probably going to have to shorten that, but it's the first one. So let's take a look at one thing to release, and then we'll look at one card of abundance. And for poets, please, one card of release. What are we releasing this week? All right. We are releasing, it says taking risk, and I'm going to read the card. It says, today I will ask, and it says God, but whenever I say God in these cards, I want you to know I don't mean the Judeo-Christian. I don't mean a God in particular. I mean the self. And this is something I talk about in my own work. I mean GAWD, God, self, right? Today I will ask God to help me begin to take healthy risk. I will ask for assistance in letting go of my fear of failure and success. I will ask for help in fully living my life so that I can start experiencing all the wonderful parts of my journey. Interesting. Taking risk, huh? Letting go of my fear of failure and success. This is interesting. We're going to put that there. It's got a beautiful horse on the front of it. Sounds familiar. 6 of Wands. And now this is a card of abundance. Now we are asking the card. I just need a card of abundance for poets this week. Something to hold on to and remember as I go into this week. All right. I like it. It says energetic clearing. During crises, the Holy One herself may be emptying you of fear and attachments, preparing you to receive her luminous plan. This is the divine feminine coming through. So whenever you hear divine feminine, divine masculine, some people mean that quite literally. They mean the physical representations of 2 of the genders. But for me, whenever you hear me talk about the divine feminine or the divine masculine, I do mean more about the traits, which is something, again, I'll be expanding on throughout these videos when I mean by these traits. There is the divine feminine is actually quite strong, and it's an internal strength. It is an internal endurance and something that is not easily seen, but is very much felt. This is more about what happens internally in terms of the strength. And it says during crises, the Holy One herself may be emptying you of fear and attachments, preparing you to receive her luminous plan by taking these risks, by letting yourself go, right? Allowing your old definitions and ideas about what success is and about who's allowed it, by letting all of that go, by opening your eyes and looking for your opportunities. This is how you are going to be receiving plans, right? And so it's saying, it very much is saying that if you've been asking what direction do I need to go in, what next, they're saying, well, I don't know, start walking and we'll tell you. And you're like, but no, I'm gonna need some more clarity. What direction do I need to go in? And the universe is like, no, I'm serious. Just start going in a direction. I'll tell you if that's the one for you. But you need to get walking. You got to start, right? And sometimes it looks like there's only that way or this way. And they might be like, well, why have you never tried going straight or going back when you've been going east and west? And you should have been going north and south. The options are numerous because now there's northeast and now there's southwest. Like, You could have been going in any direction, but you only chose two. And so it very much is about kind of clearing that up for yourself. And part of clearing that up for yourself is just getting started. For a good example, if you are currently working on a full-length manuscript, like me, and I was like, oh no, now that I've signed the deal, now what? I have to write the book. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And I got overwhelmed because I had all these ideas and I was like, oh no, I don't know what I'm going to do. I got to pick one. And the answer, I apologize for that cough. The answer in truth was actually like, instead of me trying to pick a direction, I just needed to start writing and I needed to keep writing. And it wasn't until I was like 5 or 4 poems into the new work that I was like, oh, now I see what direction I'm going in, right? I had to just start. And that's when I got the answer about, okay, what direction am I going in? And so that's what I would suggest for you. A little drink of water, one last card. Sorry, I had to edit that out. I took a sip of water and just started going into cough. So had to edit that little bit out. This is one last card. This is coming from the African Goddess Rising Oracle deck. This is one of my favorite decks. It is my daily deck. It is my all the time deck, along with the Hoodoo deck. And so this one, we're just going to get one card, and this is going to give us our affirmation. Please stick around to the end of the video, which won't be very much longer. And I want you to stick around because I'm going to give you 3 submissions that I found this week that I wanted to share with you that have deadlines on November the 30th or December the 1st. So I want to make sure that you have your options. People are always asking me, where can I get published and who's accepting submissions? And I don't know. So I'm going to give you some submission ideas every single week, just in case that's what you're looking for. And so I hope that you enjoyed this. Your last card is going to be the Wounded Healer. And the Wounded Healer has Sekhmet on it. And Sekhmet is dressed in a red skirt. They have gold chains on their gold. I'm calling them chains, but like modern day chain. Gold chains on their legs, on their forearms, on their arms. Around their neck is a golden necklace. On their head is another golden piece. There are 2 pillars. The pillars also have red at the root of the pillar. And when I say pillars, I mean pillars like inside of a building or outside of a building. And these are decorated, but they have red down at the base, and they have what looks like palm trees going up. And in the background behind the Wounded Healer, whose face is in the face of a panther or a puma or a lioness, I cannot tell. It's one of those cat things. There is a moon, and that moon is full, and that moon is golden. And the card, you do need to know this. This is what the card looks like. And in this particular deck, they do go according to chakras. And so this is the number 15. And it is also yellow, which means that this is also about the solar plexus and about confidence. And it says that the goddess of wounded healers, Sekhmet, is the fierce, ancient Egyptian goddess of war, the sun, and healing. She carries life force in her palm with the power to create or destroy. And if you don't know about the wounded healer and all the references to the wounded healer, there are many stories about the wounded healer. This person is unable to heal themselves. They are very masterful, but the only person they cannot heal is themselves. They can heal everyone else. They can teach everyone else to heal, but they have to carry their pain with them during their healing process. Even while they're helping others, they'll be in pain. Which is very true very often for a lot of us, especially those who come from, really tough backgrounds. And, I'm not going to get too far into that, but there are a lot of us who are wounded. But the work that we create, our creative work, is an effort towards healing. And so we sometimes over depend on the woundedness to be the writing is focused on the woundedness instead of on the healing. thinking that we have to hold on to that woundedness because that's where all our inspiration comes from. And that's just not the truth, which is what it says here. It says, heal thyself. Everyone gets your best except you. You are a healer among your tribe. Stop putting your needs last. Embodiment. When did you decide to become a martyr? Take a breath. Wounded healers hold sadness, rage, and fears of brokenness. Being a warrior wasn't a choice for our beloved foremothers. They did the best they could. But being a goddess warrior for us is knowing that we have the choice not to fight all the time. Deep dive questions. What are your swords? The weapons you use to fight. What are those swords that you put around yourself, that you prevent yourself from moving forward? What are those swords that you put around yourself? And what are your shields? The ways you defend yourself. Dare to lay the burdens down along with your swords and shields. And the declaration, the affirmation is, it is safe to put myself first. It is safe to put myself first. It is safe to put myself first. Thank you so much, poets, for hanging out with me and rolling to the end. If you roll to the end, please write a little comment with that affirmation and stick it out. I've got less than a minute of announcements for upcoming poetry submissions for the week or for the month. And I look forward to giving you another reading next Wednesday. Have a great week.